Howdy, folks. Thanks for tuning in for another cruise with Smooth. We're not cruising today. We're just sitting in the car. I parked it. I had to go to the store today to pick up some essentials and parked in the wrong spot, so I just moved it. It's raining out. Um, Two things I wanted to talk about today. Um, Without a vaccine or good therapeutic medicine against coronavirus, the sole reason that we stayed indoors and did that 30 to flatten or 15 or whatever it was initially, and it kept getting extended, was to make sure that medical care was never overwhelmed. So far, it hasn't been. There's a lot of people that are really in a bad way. I was listening to some statistics earlier today that especially among minority communities, 1 in 5 kids are under eating. There are parents that are skipping meals so that their kids don't have to. Um, People are hurting, and the government so far hasn't done enough to offset the economic damage done by this. And I don't know that they're going to be able to, because they're going to print money out of thin air, and then the money that you've got in your retirement's all of a sudden worth 20% less. But the reason why I'm talking about all this, is we flatten the curve. Hospitals are beginning to see less and less COVID patients. So eventually, without there being a viable or a proven therapeutic, since we can't run through the standard human trial phases right now on new drugs, um, where you do have placebos. Since we can't do all that, we kind of need to let people go back out. And the okay, here's my take on it. If the whole flatten the curve thing, anything above hospital capacity, as far as illness goes, was going to result in excess deaths. So without a therapeutic or a vaccine, basically you can kind of guarantee that so long as you don't overrun medical capacity in any given area, there's going to be a certain percentage of death from coronavirus. I'm not trying to sound morbid, that is a fact. So since we haven't overrun it, I think that letting people go back to work is a great idea. I also think that government is being ridiculously boneheaded about all this. Buddy of mine at work has a kid that's not quite 2 yet, I think. And his daycare, we're going back to work a little later this month. We have very, very strict attendance policies. He and I work night shift. His wife works day shift, as does mine. When he goes back to work, he will not have personal time available to take off. And due to him and his wife's overlap of shifts, he'll end up getting like 1 to 2 hours of sleep if he has to watch his kid, and have to come into work on 2 hours of sleep for an 8 to 11 hour shift, because our governor's not opening up daycare for approximately a month after our specific industry is allowed to go back. So I think that government is doing everything it can, but I don't think that they're making educated decisions. I know they're trying to keep people safe, but they're not doing a great job at keeping people employed that they end up sending back to work. Because if this guy has to call in, I want to say you can use Family Medical Leave Act, depending on what you get, anywhere from 1 to 3 days a week. If you run out of personal time, Then you start getting into AWOLs, and we've got a really tough attendance policy if you don't get excused absences. Like working it out with your boss where you've got, hey, here's a thing that happened, I wasn't able to be here, doctor's appointment for kids, things like that, and your boss doesn't work with you, you get 8 absences a year. 3 of those are freebies. After that, you start getting into disciplinary trouble, where you lose, you take days without pay, and then I think it's a day, a week, a month, and you're fired. First one, yeah, no, you might get a day, a week, 3 weeks, fired. A day, a week, 3 weeks, a month, fired, something like that. But you get 8 absences a year, 3 of which are free, plus your personal time, so you get 8 no consequence call-ins in a year. So, and then the last 3 are what start getting you into disciplinary trouble. And you've got to be absence-free for a year for those to fall off. So, this guy could end up between a rock and a hard place just due to the attendance policy at our company. And the reason why they have a tight attendance policy is because when absences happen, it can really impact the quality of work on a given day. So I get it. I've lived with it for 5 years now and I haven't been in trouble. I'll record a little bit later. I gotta go. Phone call.